Manchester United 1, West Ham 2. Another really bad day at the office for Manchester United. But the question today is, who is to blame for this bad result? Is it the players? Is it Erik ten Hag? Or is it that referee? Well, to be honest, it's a little bit of everyone. So today I'm going to tell you why. Let's take a look. So before we get into this game of blaming different people, we need to start off with the positives, because Manchester United started this game incredibly positively. A really strong first 20 minutes, and to be honest, this game should have been over before West Ham had even woken up. Manchester United came out like a storm, absolutely flying at the opposition and playing really good football. What was good about the football? It was quick, it was fast, but it was precise. The technical quality on show from the players was quite impressive. West Ham were turning the ball over in city areas. They started the game terribly, to be honest. The ability on the ball from West Ham was really poor, also defensively. But Manchester United were capitalising on that. You can only attack what's in front of you, and Manchester United done exactly that. The technical quality on display was really impressive. A lot of zippy two-touch football, and we know that if your two-touch football is one, zippy, but also accurate and good, you're going to cause problems for the opposition, and that's exactly what we saw in this game. Højlund, Bruno Fernandes in the first 20 minutes done an excellent job of kind of dropping into these positions. The supply from Casemiro and Eriksen into them was good. We then had Rashford and Garnacho looking to get past them, creating chances in the final third, getting in towards the opposition goal. It was a really bright start. Manchester United started the game with the right mentality. The idea of trying to squeeze high where we could and apply pressure, trying to win the ball back, and then once we'd won the ball back, we were aware that West Ham are really poor defensively, so let's go and attack it as quickly as possible. And we saw it several times really early on in the game. This is literally 1 minute 44 seconds in. You can see Manchester United pressing high up the pitch. We've locked off one side. We've pressed reasonably well here. And eventually West Ham turn the ball over with a really poor pass into sort of the middle of nowhere. But you've got to give United credit here for being in the position to capitalise. Eriksen does exactly that. He capitalises, he wins the ball in midfield, plays the ball through to Bruno Fernandes. It's a really nice pass. Bruno Fernandes squares it for Garnacho. Chance 1 minute 50 into the game. Garnacho hits the crossbar. It's a difficult chance, but you've got to hit the target, and realistically, you probably should score. But it's a good start from United. It's a good message that we are here to attack West Ham. Again, in a situation like this, we've got Garnacho playing the pass into Højlund. Højlund dropping deeper. We can see Højlund and Bruno Fernandes together, deep, with Garnacho and Marcus Rashford making runs past him. It was really effective attacking play. We can see the way that we are sort of dragging these West Ham centre-backs out of position like this with our deeper two players there. And it creates this sort of room for Garnacho. And again, when you're in these positions, at this level of football, you've got to score. You've got to take these chances. You've got to hit the target. You've got to work the goalkeeper. And speaking of you've got to hit the target, it's usually a good idea to hit the target when you've got an open goal. Manchester United should be out of sight at this point in the game. This is 31 minutes in. We've just seen 3 chances that United probably should score. Bruno Fernandes had a decent header as well. I believe there was another opportunity as well for the side. United genuinely should have scored 3, 4, 5 goals here. And this is where you feel a little bit sorry for Erik ten Hag, because tactically he has set us up in a way that we can win the ball reasonably high. We can get into good positions. We create chances. The players just have to put the ball in the net. So you feel a little bit sorry for ten Hag. The disappointing part of this early stage was obviously that we didn't take the chances, but also that we can't create chances for Højlund and Rashford still. They are our 2 best goal scorers in my opinion. Even when we were attacking well, those 2 weren't getting chances. But apart from that, it was a really good start. So what went wrong? How did Manchester United not win this football match? So the answer to that question is actually pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. We didn't take our chances, we didn't score goals, so of course you're not going to win a football match. But also, the big problem for Manchester United after the first 30 minutes of the game, but to be honest we saw it earlier as well, was a lack of control out of possession. United started the game brilliantly on the ball. We've said it already, the technical quality was there. Tactically we were finding gaps, we were hitting them fast on the break. It's lovely. And when you have that attacking threat, you can create chances, you can score goals. But ultimately, if you want to win a football match in the Premier League, at this high level, but also you want to control a football match, which I think is an important part of the game as well, you have to be good defensively. You have to be good off the ball. If you are good off the ball, you're going to get the ball on a more regular basis, and then you can show off your attacking talent. If you are poor off the ball, you're going to give the opportunity to the opposition to take control, to build possession themselves, and ultimately create chances. And West Ham have got some good players. Paqueta, Bowen, Antonio in the attack. If you let West Ham build up against you and get into good areas, they're going to cause you a lot of problems, because they are genuinely quality players. The problem is Manchester United at times make it far too easy for the opposition to do that. We saw earlier, United quite effectively locking the ball to one side of the pitch and turning over the ball, winning it high. Christian Eriksen played the through ball. Here it's something a little bit different. And I want to point out, this is 7 minutes into the game. And the reason I want to point that out is because I think there's this perception that United lost control after 30 minutes, or, certainly in the second half. But this was kind of evident, kind of creeping into the game from quite early. At no point were United perfect defensively here. We can see the intent behind the press. Bruno's trying to lock it off one side like this. Garnacho on Wan-Bissaka. For me, that distance is a little bit too big. The intensity isn't there. Garnacho's got too much ground to cover. So by the time Wan-Bissaka actually gets the ball, he's got a really easy pass up the line. And then eventually the ball's played back inside. Wan-Bissaka chooses not to drive forward. He sort of takes his time on the ball. He plays the ball backwards. But basically the main problem here is West Ham find it really easy to escape our pressure. And therefore, eventually, in just a few seconds, move the ball all the way up to the halfway line. So United have almost surrendered control there. We haven't been able to press high, we've had to drop deep. And again, when you let quality players have the ball, there's always potential that they're going to cause a problem. Now that last scenario almost wasn't too bad. Granted, the press wasn't quite good enough, we didn't quite get there, we surrendered control, but at least we were still in a reasonably compact position. We were okay, the shape was alright. This one's much worse. This is Manchester United trying to squeeze high. We've actually gone really aggressive here. Garnacho all the way up to the goalkeeper, and then a 3v3 on the next line. The problem is we aren't quite intense enough in these positions, and eventually West Ham played this little ball around the corner. Edson Alvarez with a really nice pass. The problem is, as this pass is played around the corner, what you would expect is that next line of pressure from Manchester United, the next wave of the press, if you like, coming in to join the team. But the body language of the forwards tells you that didn't happen, and you can see how defeated they look. Bruno Fernandes, Rashford and Garnacho all kind of going, oh, all that energy I just wasted pressing. And the reason that's so annoyed is because there's just no one backing them up. And West Ham again moved the ball forward incredibly easy, carried the ball down the pitch. Wan-Bissaka was a threat throughout this game. He had far too much time on the ball. And I felt that when he got forward, he was genuinely a threat. I think almost fortunately for Manchester United, we know he doesn't have the greatest end product in the world once in the final third. So he kind of didn't punish us. But actually, positionally, he was getting into some great areas for West Ham, allowing Bowen to come into these positions. And this is the big problem for me if we're looking towards Ten Hag. Obviously, Ten Hag can't finish the chances himself. He can't score the goals. I completely understand that. Manchester United should have been out of sight. 2-0 up in the first 20 minutes, this game changes, right? West Ham's heads drop, etc. Instead, it felt a little bit like Manchester United's heads dropped because we didn't take our chances after a fast start. You start to think, is it one of those days again? The players' heads drop a little bit, the intensity drops a little bit. But also, if we're looking at it kind of structurally, the defensive shape still isn't good enough. The high press isn't good enough. The mid-block isn't good enough, and we allow teams to come onto us. And again, I don't care what team you are playing against. If you are in the Premier League, you will be playing against 2 or 3 genuinely quality footballers and a lot of good footballers. There's a reason they're in the Premier League, right? And when you do that and you give those players time to get on the ball, you are always going to give up an opportunity. And that's my big issue around Manchester United not controlling games. Not on the ball, that's okay. We were fast, but that can work sometimes. Off the ball, you have to be able to control a game out of possession if you want to be a good football side. And Manchester United can't do that. We can talk all day long about Manchester United not taking the chances. We should have scored more goals in this game. But ultimately, West Ham should have scored more goals in this game as well. They had around 3 XG in this football match. They caused us a lot of problems. So this isn't one of those games where we can just go, it's just the players individually not scoring their chances. I agree they should score the goals, but if you are surrendering 3 XG to the opposition, that's a big problem. That is a big problem defensively. It's far too easy for teams to come back into the game. I think we have to look a little bit at the mentality of the players. I wouldn't say that they gave up or they downed tools, anything like that. That would be wrong to suggest. But they do seem to lack confidence when things don't go their way. When we don't take those early chances, the heads drop. And when our heads drop, our intensity seems to drop. And again, that's when we invite other teams into the game. So in terms of what we said right at the start, who are we blaming here? It's genuinely everyone. We're blaming the players because they didn't take their chances when they should have. And we're also blaming the players for the way that their heads drop and the intensity drops. I mean, in the second half, we barely showed up at all. The intensity was non-existent. But also, if we're looking at Erik Ten Hag, his substitutions were a little bit odd, to be honest. I felt that Rashford should have been moved to the left. You know, Garnacho was getting into good positions, but he couldn't take the chances. Rashford left, Ahmad right to end the game probably would have made more sense. But also the defensive shape. We give up too much control in these football matches with our defensive approach. And that is ultimately on Ten Hag. And then obviously we've also got the referee we're going to blame a little bit as well today, because the decision is an absolute joke. It's never a penalty. We can all see the contact that De Ligt gets on the ball. Referees and former referees tend to stick together a little bit. The fact that we have seen former referees coming out and saying that is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen kind of tells you everything. I dare say we'll get an apology at some point, but that doesn't help. That doesn't give us points on the table. So who is to blame in this game? That is the big question. Genuinely everybody. Everybody let themselves down a little bit in one way or another. The game wasn't officiated particularly well. The players didn't execute the game plan well enough. But also, the game plan still needs to be a little bit better. Ultimately, I feel a little bit sorry for Ten Hag after today's game, because I just think those players should score in the first 10 minutes. And I think if we're 2-0 up inside 15, West Ham almost sack the game off and United go on to be comfortable. But also, tactically, we have to take more control. It's a really weird football match. It feels like we say that a lot about Manchester United. And perhaps that really says something about this football club at the moment. It was another weird game. It's difficult to pin it on one problem. There's a lot of problems across everyone. And that's just where we're at the moment. It feels like we're repeating ourselves a little bit. But like I said, that's where we're at. Certainly in my opinion anyway. It feels like more of the same. But like I said, that's just my thoughts, my opinions. I want to hear yours in the comments down below. Who is really frustrating you after that match? Is it Ten Hag? Is there, tactically an issue? Is it the players? It has to be to an extent, because they have to score those chances. The referee, watch your language in the chat, in the comments, please. Let's be kind, let's be respectful. But it wasn't great, was it? It wasn't great. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments. Apart from that, I think we're finished for today, because I don't think there's anything else to talk about. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. I'm not sure that's the right words. But as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.